They called him the King. Private jets, Rolls-Royce, diamond watches, and Gucci head to toe. A lifestyle so f***ing ridiculous, even Fendi sent him a birthday cake. A cake that eventually would be his downfall. Having more money than you could think of wasn't enough for the king. He had to tell the world about it. Every photo that he posted was a flex. Every caption that he wrote was a statement of wealth. The question no one seemed to ask was, where was all this money coming from? He was the architect behind one of the largest scam empires that the world had ever seen, stealing over $300 million from multiple big corporations around the world. This is the story of how a poor kid from Lagos built a global empire of fraud, and how it all came crashing down with one single Instagram post. Before all the watches, private jets and cars, Ramon Olorunwa Abbas was born in Lagos, Nigeria in 1982. He grew up in the neighborhood of Orowan Shoki, a place very far removed from designer boutiques and penthouses in Dubai. There was no Instagram back then. Hell, he couldn't even get reliable internet there. Ramon didn't finish secondary school, and sometime in his late teens, an opportunity popped up. An invitation to join an email scam ring called Yahoo Boys. It was nothing much. Ramon starts with rather small schemes. The classic Nigerian prince type stuff, fake lottery winnings and romance scams. Nothing groundbreaking, but it worked. Even though he was a poor kid from Nigeria, his words could make people believe in anything that he said. And with a small taste of wealth, Ramon wanted more. He started sending hundreds and even thousands of emails to people in first world countries, waiting for someone to bite. And sooner or later he accumulated enough wealth to start thinking big. Ramon found his way to Malaysia, a country with better internet and more freedom to operate in the shadows. For someone with his skill set, this was the perfect place to scale. And scale he did. The Roman scam and the Nigerian prince emails were getting kinda old. He needed to change the playbook. Welcome Business Email Compromise, or BEC. This was no longer some small-scale catfishing anymore. This was high-level corporate fraud. And it made Ramon richer than he could have ever imagined. Ramon and his crew would first scout their targets, typically large companies in the West that would send out 6 or 7-figure payments on the regular. They'd use some social engineering to find weak links, maybe some sort of assistant or financial officer. Someone who is high up but careless. Afterwards, one phishing email was all it took. Something as simple as a fake Google page or fake email from Microsoft. The moment someone typed in the password, Ramon had access to their entire inbox. They wouldn't strike the target just yet. He'd stay inside the inbox for days, weeks, months. He read how the invoices were written, how the approvals were made. He memorized the language they had used, the way they open and close the emails. Anything to make it more official. Once he was sure, and only if he was sure, he'd make his move. Ramon would craft an email so perfect, so indistinguishable from the real thing, that even the most cynical employee wouldn't question it. It would say something along the lines of,
"Due to a change in banking policy, please update our payment details effective immediately."
And included was a new bank account, one under Ramon's control. Usually it was opened using a fake identity or a money mule. Each time the company would receive a payment, it would go through his account. No alarms triggered, no red flags. He was suddenly in the possession of hundreds or even millions of dollars. From there, he needs to move it very fast, throughout tons of offshore accounts, shell companies and fake businesses in multiple countries. By the time the victim realized they had been scammed, the money was long gone, no longer traceable. This wasn't a one-man show anymore. Ramon was now running with a global crew of coders, fraud experts, ID forgers, and money launderers. He had people in Nigeria, Kenya, Malaysia, the US, UK, UAE, everywhere. And all of them helped him move the money across the border like it was water. At his peak, Ramon was pulling an estimated $1 to $1.5 million every week. I'm not kidding you, weeks. But for all of the careful laundering and the hidden bank accounts, there was one thing that Ramon didn't know how to hide: his ego. Because from someone who came from nothing, he wanted the world to see everything. He wanted them to know he had made it. He wanted to be famous. By the time Ramon touched down in Dubai, he was done hiding. He wasn't ducking behind VPNs and burner phones anymore. He was riding through the desert in Rolls Royces and stepping out in a city with Gucci head to toe. Ramon Alvaz has disappeared. It was Hushpuppi's time to shine. On Instagram, people began to idolize him, idolize his lifestyle, dripping in Gucci, Versace, Dior, and any other big luxury brand that you could think of. He got his followers not to just like him, they would worship him. To them, Hushpuppi was proof that someone from the streets could make it big. Except people didn't know his wealth wasn't earned. Every designer sneaker, every iced-out watch, every custom G-Wagon. It was all bought with the money that didn't belong to him. The illusion was working. It was working more than he expected. Brands started to believe in him. There were rumors of sponsorships with Gucci and Versace. Even Fendi sent him a birthday cake. He started to hang out with celebrities, famous footballers, Nigerian pop stars. But soon people started to ask questions. Not the rivals, not the haters, but the authorities. The flex was getting too loud. It attracted an unwanted attention and Hushpuppi didn't even know it yet. Authorities quickly wanted to get to know Hushpuppi better. His real name, his address, anything to paint a better picture. Each photo on his Instagram was dissected, piece by piece. Photos of him that put him in front of the Dubai Mall that serves the wear. Then a license plate on a Rolls Royce, dead end. But finally, one photo managed to crack a gaping hole in Hushpuppi's life. Remember the birthday cake that Fendi had sent to him? Well, Hushpuppi posted the photo on his Instagram and on his birthday. This had given investigators their first real lead, his birth date. They ran it through multiple systems and finally got a hit: visa applications. And there it was revealed that Ramon Olonwa Abbas is the real name of Hushpuppi. But this wasn't his only mistake. He used to run multiple schemes with one particular partner, Vincent Chibuzo, who felt that he deserved more than Hushpuppi was actually giving him. And when Hushpuppi refused to raise his cut, he went rogue. Vincent started calling the targets and telling them the whole thing was just a setup. Of course, Hushpuppi, after hearing that, won't let it slip so easily. He called in a favor, not from some gang to beat him up, but from an acting police officer. But not just any officer. He called in the super cop for a favor. DCP Abba Kairi was one of the most famous officers in Nigeria. He was called Super Cop because people believed in him and thought that he would never be able to be corrupted. Hushpuppi asked for the arrest of Vincent Chibuzo. Pretty easy task. And according to the FBI, Kirani actually did it. He had Vincent arrested, took photos of him badly beaten up and in custody. This was straight business. When their exchange was recovered by the FBI, it was damning. It was the crack that could crumble everything. A golden ticket. The final confirmation the FBI needed. Because they were done watching. They were coming. On June 10th, 2020, just before sunrise, a convoy of blacked out SUVs rolled through Dubai. Inside were agents from the FBI, Interpol, and Dubai police. They were all targeting one man: Hushpuppi. After months of surveillance and cooperation between the US and UAE authorities, it was finally time to make a move. They called it the Fox Hunt 2. It wasn't subtle, not even in the slightest. Agents stormed Hushpuppi's luxury apartment in the Plaza Versace hotel. No knock, no warning, just straight gas. Within minutes, 11 members of his crew were arrested. They were all taken down in coordinated raids across the entire city. But the crown jewel, of course, was Ramon Abbas himself. Wouldn't you know it, he didn't even resist. Because what they found inside the apartment was damning enough. They seized over $40 million in cash, 13 luxury cars, 47 smartphones, 21 laptops, and a hard drive filled with nearly 2 million email addresses and passwords, including the list of the victims, targets, and leads, all timestamped and geotagged. laid out for the prosecution on a silver platter. And from that apartment alone, authorities estimated the total fraud linked to Hushpuppi could be worth over $456 million. Yeah, I'm not kidding. This Gucci-wearing almost got away with $500 million from this scheme. After his arrest, he was extradited to the US, held in a federal facility in Chicago, and then moved to Los Angeles for the trial. He was charged with wire fraud, bank fraud, and conspiracy to engage in money laundering. And the total was 11 years in prison and only $1.5 million in fines. Wait a minute, why is the fine so little? The FBI couldn't prove much of his schemes, other than one $40 million scam that he had pulled off on a New York law firm. He was allegedly linked to money laundering for the Lazarus Group, a North Korean hacker ring who stole over $1.3 billion from the global financing systems. What's gonna happen to the rest of the money? Well, for all we know, Hushpuppi might still have a lot of accomplices out there, keeping the money nice and warm. And the man who was once seen as a king disappeared behind bars.